hit start on this thing. Hello, and thank you for stopping by the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. Hello. You know how we do things around here. I'm always like trying to fit in 1,000 things at the same time, right? So tonight just happens to be Saturday, whatever the date is, and I'm watching Carolina play Clemson on TV here in the living room. Make sure my ringer's off so it doesn't ring in the middle of this thing. Okay, so today's Saturday, November 24th, and it's 9 o'clock at night. Ooh, late one. We've been super busy today putting up a Christmas tree. We got our Christmas tree up and it is delightful. I'll actually pan you guys around so you can see it. Isn't that pretty? Ooh, so pretty. But yeah, we went to go see my wife's parents for Thanksgiving and got to hang out with my nieces and our family. I had talked before we went about trying to get my brother-in-law on here to talk about a book that he wrote and that he's trying to sell on Amazon. But he and I did not get a chance to sit down and do the podcast like I had hoped. I was really kind of hoping we would get to spend some time doing that. But I found out that he's wanting to give the book as a gift to his boys. And right now his boys don't know about it. It's kind of a surprise. He's going to give it to them for Christmas. But I am going to work him in on here to get him to be a guest and to also talk about his book. I'd like to promote him. I think he's doing something good. I just kind of want to help throw some traffic his way if I can, even if it's just a little bit. I mean, on YouTube, currently in 2018, I got a little over 2,600 subscribers. It's not a lot, but it's a lot if you consider going from nothing to that. I heard Casey Neistat once talk about how he had gotten to 10 million subscribers, and he said, you know, from 1 million to 10 million wasn't really that hard. He said the hardest was getting the first 100, and then it was even harder, or it seemed like it was just as hard to go to 1,000, and then just as hard to go to 10,000. He said it was hard every step of the way, but as you gain more followers, it becomes easier. And maybe that's word of mouth, maybe that's because you're easier to find, maybe because you get more into the content that you're creating, so you spend more energy creating better content. And that's probably the case. If I go back and I watch some of my first videos, I look at it and I go, wow, what's going on there, Josh? Were you even paying attention to the fact that the camera was rolling? You know, and I try to be mindful of that now. I try to be mindful of the fact that you guys are watching and you want to be engaged just as though you were sitting there with me. I mean, honestly, if I go back and I watch videos of anybody, I want to feel like I'm engaged. I want to feel like they're talking to me. I mean, that's sort of the idea of the you in the YouTube. You need to be in front of the camera. So, you know, if I have any advice to anybody who's wanting to start one of these, make sure you're the character, you're the main character in your series, in your videos, because people are tuning in to watch you. I mean, I get the fact that sometimes you just want to show scenery or sometimes you want to show how to do something, and that's fine too, but don't forget that you are the main character. So, anyway, I'm going to try and talk my brother-in-law into starting his own podcast. And like I was saying before, he's already got his secret code name, so he'll be all Johnny Cool Pants and stuff. That won't be his name, but you get the idea. Anyway, Carolina Clemson just came out of halftime, and Clemson's only up by a touchdown right now, which is interesting. Clemson's ranked number 2 in the country, and South Carolina has a 6-4 season. We like to think of ourselves as a perpetual rebuilding process. Is that a good term? Rebuilding team? Yeah, we're perpetually rebuilding. Now, I would say that I've been spoiled in the fact that when Spurrier was there, we had a lot of 10-2 seasons, a lot of, very low loss seasons. And we did beat Clemson 5 times in a row, which was pretty cool. And I remember back then that Dabo Swinney was the coach of Clemson, our rival school. And when we beat them 5 times in a row, Clemson fans were like, we need to fire him. He ain't no good. And I mean, they were all ready to get rid of him, even though they were still winning, 8 and 9 and 10 games a season. Clemson just hated the fact that they were losing to Carolina, and they wanted to fire Dabo. Now fast forward a little bit, and Dabo's won him a national championship, and he's been to 3 now. And looks like they're going to go there again this year. Sometimes it's not a great idea just to be reactive over something. Sometimes it's better to look at the big plan and go, no, there's something else at work here, and it'll work itself out. I talked to my brother a lot about, years ago, Tennessee had a top-notch football program. Phil Fulmer, it's not an easy name to roll off your tongue. Phil Fulmer was their coach, and he was a rather large man, and a very humble guy that you might know. Peyton Manning was their quarterback when they won a national championship. And they were an elite program. I mean, anytime you saw them on the schedule, you're like, oh, this is going to hurt. And if you go there, they do the Rocky Top song, and that place gets to rocking, and, it's a very loud stadium. The fans are nuts. And they had a few seasons where they only got 6 and 7 wins, and the fan base was like, he needs to go, he sucked, get rid of him. And when they got rid of him, that was the last time they won 6 or 7 games a season. That was a long time ago. And they've just been awful since. Sometimes fans are vocal over wanting change, and they don't realize how the change can be affected. Right now, not a lot of fans are super happy about Will Muschamp. It's said a lot that when he was at Florida, he was a really good recruiter. And that was one of the things about him coming to South Carolina was, oh man, he's such a great recruiter. He just needs to get the right program under him. Okay, well, he's had 3 seasons now of recruiting. And, I know it takes time to develop talent and all that stuff. And I'm patient. I'm an optimist. I've talked about that before. I think that there's always something better around the corner, or that people are trying to do the right thing. And when you see them on the sidelines, they look like they're trying to do the right thing. It's just sometimes talent doesn't show up when you expect it to. Sometimes people make mistakes. And, a couple mistakes can sort of add up and make you think, that nobody's paying attention when in fact they are. But it's just one of those things where you got to be patient at the right time, and you got to forcefully nudge your staff in the right direction, and you have to motivate your kids to do their best and hope that you've picked the right person. It's sort of weird in the fact that they recruit kids to play who, if the kids are honest, their dream is to one day make it in the NFL. And how do they get to the NFL? Well, they got to be on an elite program, and they got to have eyes on them showing off their talent. Well, you got top programs right now over the last 3 years being Clemson and Alabama. And if you're not with one of those teams, okay, who are you going to go to so that you're on TV and so that you can show off your talent? You're going to go to places like Ohio State and Texas and Penn State, Notre Dame, Michigan. And you just hope that you're good enough that you can get on TV and someone can spot you and go, oh wow, I'd like to have him in my program, and you get to play for the NFL. Now, in reality, I've heard a statistic saying that the average player only plays for about a year in the NFL. A lot of them get injured. A lot of them don't work out as far as their physical health. They're not their physical health, but their competitiveness is not there with other players. They can't keep up with other players. Or the team decides to go in a different direction because maybe somebody's got a crappy attitude, or maybe it's a money thing and they go, nope, we're going to go after somebody young and we don't have to pay this veteran what he's worth, and we'll just cut our budget that way. Watching that movie Moneyball, you get to see Billy Beane's operation of trying to get the Oakland Athletics to where they could compete with the Yankees. Because back then, the Yankees used to, in everybody's eyes, just buy a championship. They would buy the best players. They could afford to spend more money than anybody else. And people like the Oakland Athletics didn't have that money. But Billy Beane was running the Oakland Athletics, and he picked up a young economist and started talking to him about the economy of baseball. And they started doing some drastic changes and some drastic trades. And if you've never seen the movie, I highly recommend seeing it. Brad Pitt plays Billy Beane. You got, what's his name? The dude from, what's his name? Jonah Hill. That's it. Jonah Hill plays the economist. And, you know, he had been losing weight and they made him gain weight for this role so he would look like the guy. Anyway, it's a great movie. I think it's highly underrated. But that economist version of baseball has translated into other things. Has translated into football, has translated into hockey and soccer and basketball, even NASCAR. Now, a lot of people will say that that ruins the sport. And it kind of does. In a way, it helps in the fact that it makes you more competitive, but it hurts you in the fact that your fan base stops believing in you as a team because they don't know who any of these players are. They stop buying your merchandise because they're like, yeah, what's the point of buying that jersey if the guy's not going to be in it in a year? And they're kind of right. I mean, right now in the NFL alone, you only have a few select quarterbacks who are what you'd call franchise quarterbacks. Pretty much everybody else on the team is expandable and can be traded at any moment. You know, even if you're a franchise quarterback, that's not necessarily set in stone that you're going to be there forever. My brother bought a Brett Favre jersey, and who in their right mind would ever think that Brett Favre would have left Green Bay to play anywhere else? But when he left, you're like, what do I do with my Favre jersey? I've liked Green Bay, but I've liked Green Bay because of Favre. You know, people who like Jordan at the Bulls. Oh, I love Jordan. Well, Jordan just went to the Wizards. Am I going to buy a Wizards jersey now? Really? The Wizards? You know, it's sort of like that in every sport now. But these kids, I mean, they want to go to a program. They want to be on TV. They want to have their jersey bought. They want to be the guy that everyone goes, oh my gosh, have you seen that guy play? I like college football in the fact that most of these kids will never play past college. Most of these kids are going to get an education, play some really competitive football, and then go on to do something else in life. And there may be a picture of them playing up on the wall of where they work or at their home or something. And, you know, randomly somebody will walk by and they'll see that picture and then it'll dawn on them, oh my gosh, this is that guy I used to watch. Holy cow, I can't believe it. It's their moment. It's their moment to say that they almost got there. It's their moment to put it all out there, energy-wise, effort-wise, and to play with a team and try to achieve a goal together, you know. And I don't know if a lot of college kids embrace that enough, but man, it is exciting to watch. And even when you're on a crappy team, I mean, sometimes you have a team that just doesn't quite click. You still want to be able to compete at that level or still be able to be competitive. You know, I hate it for teams that suck all the time. Like recently, they were showing a statistic that UConn's football team apparently has the worst defense in NCAA history. They have had the most points scored on them ever. And if you play on that team on defense, do you want anybody to know that you're playing for them? Or are you kind of embarrassed of the fact that you play for them? Or is it sort of like the team on Waterboy before they started doing good? You're just happy to show up and put on the uniform and you share a helmet and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I like the effort. I like when teams show effort or when players show effort and they really just go out there. Like right now, Clemson's got this wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow. He just made a heck of an effort to catch a ball, extending his body way out there. And it's one of those where he didn't have to sacrifice his body to get it. He could have just let it go. But he's that kind of competitor. And possibly he has those ideas of, hey, I could be in the NFL next year. And he could. He very well could. But that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes college football exciting. But anyway, I did get to shoot a bit of footage using my GoPro 7. I took the GoPro 7 down to the in-laws, and I got my wife's brother to drive me around on the golf cart back in the woods. There's a path that we follow, and they have a little dog that ran around in front of us and was kind of scouting the area for different things. And I was able to take the GoPro 7 and use that, what they call that, hyperlapse or hyper times. It's not a time lapse. It's something to do with the stabilization. I think it's called hyperlapse. Anyway, it does a stabilization thing, but also lets you do like the time lapse portion of it, so that if you're going through a crowd or something and like carrying it, it has an automatic gimbal set up inside of it so that it stabilizes the image. And when you do it with that time-lapse portion of it, it's sort of like warp speed. Like it's just zooming through your scenery and you get a very, very stable image of what you see. Well, he drove the golf cart and the path is not exactly flat or even, but I was able to hold the camera beside it, and you can see in the video the golf cart's bouncing around all crazy, but your image is really smooth. And I'm gonna make a video and publish that so you guys can see that. We also, while we were down there, her brother found a coral snake. Now, granted, it was just a baby, but a coral snake is very venomous and very dangerous. I've never seen one in person. I've seen them on the internet or in pictures in a book, but I've never seen one in person. And while it's, you know, interesting to see, it's also good to know that they're super, super dangerous, especially the young ones. Whenever snakes, I heard this on a podcast as a matter of fact, whenever snakes are small, they don't know how much venom to control to come out of them. When they're bigger and they strike you, they'd only put out just a little bit of venom because they know how much it takes to get away. And they want to save enough venom for multiple enemies or in case they have to strike again. Whereas a young one just expels all of its energy all at one time and it'll kill you. I mean, right away, just it's not good. Same thing with like scorpions. Apparently it's a thing with poisonous insects and snakes. The smaller and younger they are, the more deadly they are if they strike you. So it was a good thing that her brother caught it, you know, noticed it, caught it. We put it in a bucket so that everybody could see what it would look like. No, we didn't pick it up. We did he actually held it down with a tool. I don't even know how to describe the tool. I call it a lopper, where you like use it to lop off tree limbs with long handles. He opened up the handle and had one side on it and was able to hold it down with the other handle. And then I came along with a golf club thing and a bucket and was able to put it in the bucket. Anyway, we wanted to put it in the bucket just so we could show the kids.
Hedge clippers.
Hedge clippers. It's not hedge clippers. It's a lopper.
Okay.
Hedge clippers have the multiple cutters, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, I think of hedge clippers as being those big giant scissor type things.
That's what that wasn't what it was?
No, it had that really tiny end on it that you use to get the thicker tree limbs.
Oh.
But anyway. Hey, look, Clemson scored again. Yay, good for you guys. I have a lot of people that I know that are super crazy, fanatical Clemson fans, and I'm not looking forward to talking to them because they're going to be super fanatical and crazy, and there's no humility in it. And it just makes the rivalry a little more aggravating. Oh, look, on the scroll, Mike Ditka had a mild heart attack.
I seen that.
Uh-oh. Mike Ditka. For those of you who don't know, Mike Ditka was the Super Bowl Chicago Bears coach in '85 when they did the Super Bowl shuffle. I think they had like one loss all season. They were incredible. The Fridge, William Perry, was a offensive lineman or defensive lineman, I'm not sure which. But they had a thing where he ran a touchdown as a running back and no one could stop him. I mean, it was just like, hey, I'm coming through now. 300 plus pounds of a giant man bulldozing his way into the end zone. Yeah. So Clemson's looking like they're gonna keep running with it. I am proud of Carolina for sticking in there. You know, at the halftime they were only down by a touchdown. And this game ain't over. Again, I'm an optimist. This is the third quarter. It is very possible that Carolina could come back and tie it up. I mean, nothing's set in stone. There's upsets all the time. But, you know, I do realize that Clemson's number 2 in the country. And it's hard to refute that kind of talent. But anywho, it is turning cold outside. I got plants that are dying. I'm gonna have to get rid of my mums in the front. I know that people talk about, you know, oh, you don't have to get rid of them. You just plant them and they'll come back next year. I don't know who those people are or what kind of witchcraft you're doing, but I have never had that kind of luck. I have spent multiple years replanting them or planting them to start with and watching them do absolutely nothing but die and never come back. If you guys have any kind of information about how to do that kind of stuff, I'd be interested to hear how. If you want to send it to me, send me a link, whatever. I'd be willing to look into it. I mean, if there was a way to do it, that'd be really awesome. But for now, I'm gonna have to get rid of what's out there and clean it up. I was happy with the fact that we were able to have Friday off after Thanksgiving. It just made travel easier. We got up early on Thanksgiving Day, like 4:30 in the morning, and got on the road and were able to make the 4-hour trip down to my wife's parents' house super early, and then spend the day hanging out with family and eating. And the keto diet suffered on Thanksgiving Day. But, you know, we talked about the fact that we were going to eat off of our diet a little bit and eat a few carbs. But we were able to come home on Friday. We didn't get up super early. We got up, you know, whenever we woke up, had some coffee, talked to family, and then got on the road. And the trip home on Friday wasn't too bad. Today, you know, we were right back into our diet, right back eating like normal. I was able to grill some steaks and have some mushrooms and some green beans. And, you know, my body kind of went through a weird transition there because it was like, okay, are you really eating sugar? I ate a couple pieces of a pecan pie that my niece, Emma Grace, had made. And it was really fantastic. But at the same time, as I'm eating it, I could tell my body was like, what are you eating? Why? Why are you consuming this sugar? And that's, you know, not normal. But I'm gonna get back to normal. Gonna get back on the wagon here and start eating like normal. I don't know if you can tell, but I gotta shave. My gristle on my face is all grown out long. I would have normally shaved had we been home, but I'll shave tomorrow. We got church tomorrow. I'm gonna wrap this up. I want to appreciate everybody for listening. I want to appreciate everybody for commenting and giving me feedback. I don't get much feedback from too many people, but for those of you who do, I really appreciate it. And I'll give a special shout out to Knight Furniture here in Florence, South Carolina. Knight Furniture, you guys have really come through with our table. We bought some furniture from you guys, and the table, our dining room table, I talked about this before, had a thing underneath it that was hitting our knees. I went back and talked to you guys about it, and you were able to fix it, and it is perfect now. The chair, the little thing underneath it doesn't hit our knees at all. The way you guys repaired it looks great, and I appreciate you guys doing that. And I had talked to my wife about the fact that, you know, because of stuff like that, I want to keep using I want to keep using businesses who go that extra mile to do the right thing and talk about it and kind of show them some love, you know? Promote the positive, right? All right, so that's it. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching, and go Gamecocks.